Roger Guenveur Smith. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. You know, I did some research on you. You come from a great stock. Your parents were doctors, not dentists, and a judge. And you studied at Yale and you studied abroad in UK. You know, what did you learn in college and how important it is for college education?
Well, my parents were the first generation in their family to go to school. My father was from Portsmouth, Virginia, and really wanted to study law at the University of Virginia. And after having had an outstanding undergraduate experience at West Virginia State University, he applied to the University of Virginia Law School in Charlottesville, and he was accepted. Then his acceptance was rescinded when he submitted a photograph which demonstrated that he was a man of color. But my father was determined to pursue a legal education and worked his way through Howard School of Law, and in fact worked his way right out here on the Chesapeake Bay on a steamboat waiting tables. And where the Chesapeake meets the Potomac, it's very rough. And my father spilled a bowl of hot soup on a white woman's dress. And she stood up and said, "You know what? I have a dress just like this in my stateroom. I'm going to go and change, and I'm going to come back, and I want Sherman to wait on me again." And that was kind of a turning point in my father's young life, because, you know, his comrades thought that he was going to be thrown off of the boat. But this woman was kind enough to invest in his education, because that is what was putting him through law school. And my father came to California initially in the Air Force, and after he finished his service and finished his law school education, he came back to California, which is where he met my mother. Now, my mother is from Charleston, South Carolina. Grew up across the street from the College of Charleston, which was the first municipal college in this country, but of course was unable to attend that college because of her racial affiliation. And so she went to Xavier University in New Orleans and received a great undergraduate education there, and then went on to Meharry, a black medical college where she studied dentistry in Nashville, Tennessee. And then she went to California to do postgraduate work, and that's where she met my father. And so I'm the first generation Californian, the first one to be born outside the South. And when my parents first came as a young married couple to Los Angeles, they wanted to get a room in a motel, and they were denied accommodations because the proprietor felt that they were a quote-unquote mixed couple, because my mother was very fair-skinned, my father was a brown-skinned man, and they didn't know that my mother had black stamped on her birth certificate in Charleston, South Carolina, not colored, black. And they didn't know that my father was an attorney and that he made a living by suing places like this one that discriminated against brown and black people. So they sued successfully, and they took the settlement and they built their own motel about 3 blocks away from the motel that denied them accommodations and took their business away from them and built a business of their own. So what I do and how I do it, I think, was really kind of decided in utero. I was in fact conceived at an NAACP convention. My mother says she remembers the place and the position. I said, "Mom, that's too much information." But that's the roots of where I have been very privileged to be placed by two people who pursued their professions not simply for material gain, but for community service. And it's a great legacy, and it's one to which I certainly continue to aspire. That's why we're here right now at Hampton University.
Definitely. You know, Hampton University, of course, is a pillar when it comes to HBCU.
Yes.
So being that you're here, I'm just going to ask this question. What are you going to tell the students as far as your struggles or your journey? What are you going to tell the students about journalism or acting or film work?
Well, don't forget to breathe, and don't give up your day job. Right? HBCU obviously bequeathed to me the opportunity that I have had as a professional. My father being Howard University Law School graduate of West Virginia State University, which at that time was an all-black school. My mother coming through Xavier and coming through Meharry, of course. My nephew is in fact the third generation Howard University Law School graduate.
Nice.
My father was a graduate, my brother was a graduate, and my nephew and his wife were graduates, and all of the men in that line have the same name, Sherman W. Smith. I didn't go to an HBCU, but I did play Booker T. Washington in a series called Self-Made, featuring the great work of Madam C.J. Walker, played by Octavia Spencer. So I consistently return to this idea of black excellence. It's something to which I have consistently aspired. I have collaborated for many years with a guy that you might have heard of by the name of Spike Lee. And he came out of Morehouse and did his graduate work at NYU, where he has been on the faculty for many years. And I think that our combined commitment to education is something that is very important to both of us, as we've collaborated and made 10 films together. I've worked with Spike more than any other actor. It's really fantastic to be able to collaborate with someone that you see eye to eye with, even though Spike is considerably shorter than I am, but we still see eye to eye, culturally, politically, aesthetically. And I think that there's a lot more work to be done. So I say, you know, take advantage of all the opportunities that are available to you, and pursue mentorship, be a mentee, so that you can in turn be a mentor as the years go on. So connect. And I had a great opportunity to connect as an undergraduate with a wonderful woman by the name of MJ, Mary Jane Hewitt. And MJ did her PhD at the University of West Indies in Kingston, Jamaica, where she wrote a comparison between Louise Bennett, who was the First Lady of Jamaican folklore, and our First Lady of folklore, Zora Neale Hurston. And she told me one week, hey, don't come to the classroom, go to the lounge. We said, okay, go to the lounge. And there's MJ Hewitt sitting just like you're sitting, right next to Maya Angelou. Next to her, the great Roscoe Lee Brown, who went to Lincoln University. He got up and did a great scene from Dream on Monkey Mountain by Derek Walcott. Then over in the corner, James Baldwin.
Wow.
And that was the kind of exposure that I had as an undergraduate. And Roscoe became a mentor to me and eventually played my father in a film of Hamlet. He played Polonius, I played Laertes. Yeah, Lisa Gay Hamilton played Ophelia. So it's great to be here. One of my solo performances was called Portrait of Charles White. Now, Charles White has a great mural right here on the Hampton campus. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's called The Contribution of the Negro to American Democracy, which is a kind of a great theme, especially in an election week, right, to think about. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in person for the first time. I've obviously seen pictures and reproductions of it, and looking forward to being in communion with the Hampton student body this evening.
Nice. Now, your business is great. It's legendary. You've done a lot of movies, a lot of film. I think 34, 35 years of work, could be longer. From Panther to the new movie Till, to All About the Benjamins, Colored Courage, which is one of my favorite movies from you. What is the secret to longevity?
Well, I think it's really all of those things that I was talking about, in recognizing all of the sacrifices that have been made so that we might be here, sitting, very comfortably, with a very nice view of Hampton Roads behind us. Knowing that the Rappahannock people were here first, and we are walking on their ground. The Maharian people, we are walking on their ground. The Nottoway people, we are walking on their ground. To always have that sense of history within us. This is where the first Africans were brought, right over here, right down the street. And I think that on our best days, on our best evenings, we absorb that spirit because it gives us the power to move forward.
Sir, it's been a pleasure interviewing you.